All right, so this exercise is learning how to make brushes. And the brushes are actually, that we're going to make, are actually kind of more like stamps than they are brushes, because you don't really make a brush stroke, you just kind of click and blot to get an image to paint. And you can make a brush in, the shape of any kind of image you want. So I gave you guys this picture of this bat that I got off the internet so that you could use that as your sample to make a brush. And for this exercise, you're going to make a brush with the bat, and then you're also going to download a brush so that we all know how to do that. Now, how do you make a brush? Well, the very first step is to cut the image out. So you don't want the white part on the bat to create your brush, because the white will actually paint also, and it'll make a little rectangle when you go to paint. So we're simply going to grab the white part of the background with the magic wand. We'll select it and we'll hit delete. And then we'll deselect, Command D. So next we're ready to actually make the brush. And to make a brush, you select the bat using the rectangular marquee tool, this one. And it's the only one that works. So don't use anything else but that. And you're basically going to want to draw a box so that you get all of the bat within it. And if you need to, you can always move it with the arrow keys, if you want to kind of adjust it so that the box is even. Don't cut off any piece of your bat. You want to make sure the whole thing is there. So if you don't draw it quite right, just deselect, Command D, and try again. Option and Shift can be helpful, or just actually Option, which will let you, hold on, should let you grab from the center out. No, it's not going to work. Oh well. So I'll just go ahead and grab. Okay, now to make a brush, you go to Edit, and you choose Define Brush Preset. And then you can name that, so, name it bat. And you say OK. And so we've done it now. We've created a brush. How do we find it, though? Well, first, let's deselect the bat. Let's make a nice new empty layer that we're going to paint on, so we're not painting on the same layer as our picture. And let's choose the normal paintbrush. Let's make sure that our opacity and our flow up here are 100%, and that the mode is normal. And then let's pick a color for that bat. So whatever color you want. It should be on top here, the foreground color. Okay, now we're going to go look for it. And you go to where all the different brushes are, right up here. And the bat's going to be down at the bottom here. Last brush. And, just like any brush, you can make big or small. I'm using my bracket keys as a quick way to do that. And to paint, you're just going to click. And it's going to give you the image, as long as your opacity and flow are up 100%, it should look pretty good. If you want it to be a little darker, just, shouldn't have moved that, but just click again to darken it in. And then each subsequent bat I'm going to put on its own layer, because if it is on its own layer, then I can actually, when I go to paint, I can adjust size, I can move it around. So I'm just always going to go new layer and then make those bats. And they're objects once you've done that, so you can rotate them if you need to. You can flip them. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is download a brush. All right, so we're going to download brushes now, and the way to do it is to search Photoshop brushes. And, you know, lucky for us, there's lots of nice people who make brushes and share them. And now that you guys know how to make brushes, you could do the same thing if you wanted. There's different sites. Now, I was using Brush Easy earlier, but then it started wanting me to sign up, and I didn't want to take the time to do that. So I'm going to go into this top one, myphotoshopbrushes.com. Hopefully we'll get something that, you know, I'll be able to get them if I want. And it looks like you can go to the brush section here, or you can kind of scroll through, look at the latest ones. I'm not sure if this particular site gives you a search or not. I'll go to brushes though. Let's check that out. So you're going to want to find some brushes that you think you want. And, you know, it could really be anything at this point for this exercise. Of course, when we do our next project, you're probably going to want some specific ones. I'm sort of liking these little birds, so I'm going to just grab those. I'm going to click into them. Hopefully they work well. Let's see? Oh, it's connecting. It's going slow. All right, now to download, hopefully it's not tricky and it doesn't try to get me to sign up. And I don't know which download button. It's probably going to be, I don't know which one. I'll try this one. That one?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to download my birds. And it's connecting. It's going slow. So if you're using Chrome, it throws them down at the bottom, right? If you're using Safari, it's up in this corner. And basically what you want to do is go to where those brushes are. So I'm going to click the little arrow, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Show in Finder. And that's going to open up a window with the file. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drag the zipped file to my desktop so it's there. So it's no longer in downloads. If you need to get to downloads, you can also go to, if you click to your desktop and go to Go, and then you can go to downloads that way. And see, I just put it on the desktop, so let me go and get it there. So it's bird brushes, it's zipped. I'm going to double click to unzip it. And it's made the little brush file here. This is what they look like. So see this guy? All right, now to load it, it's not like a font. I can't double click to load it. I'm actually going to load it from within Photoshop. So here's how you do it. You go to brush again, and you go up to where you found your bat earlier, where all the brushes are. And this time we're going to the brush options, which it's this little arrow that's pointing to the right in the upper right hand corner. And this time I'm going to choose Load Brushes. And I know mine are on my desktop, so that's where I'm going to look. They happen to be right here, Bird Brushes. So I just click it, and then I choose Open. And notice I've got lots of brushes. They just popped in. They're always going to show up at the bottom. So now I can go in and I can choose them. Choose a few birds. I'll make a new empty layer to paint, And I'm going to paint those birds. I'll pick a new color too. Let's make some bluebirds. So click, and if it's not dark enough, you can always click twice. You can kind of see what you like the best. This particular brush had more than one bird. Remember, the bracket keys are your shortcut to make big and small.
Do we use new layers on this too?
Yeah. I would. That way you can move them around. If you forget, and I actually just did that. I forgot. So I'm going to let me toss that. And make a new layer. Don't forget, like me. And then you can go ahead and paint them. And if your brush pack is probably going to have more than one kind. So go ahead and try out the different ones. New layer though, remember, that way when you want to, you can move things around. So 2 clicks is going to make them more solid. Always be sure your opacity and your flow is up there. Now, one thing you can do that's kind of neat is you can add layer styles to these. So if I wanted to go and use a gradient on this, or I wanted to use a drop shadow or bevel, I'm going to go to the layer, I'm going to double click, and then I can go ahead and choose those options. So I could put a drop shadow on it. There it is. I could do bevel emboss, which is going to make it look kind of 3D. Just remember, to adjust those effects, you always want to click and highlight the word so that you get to the right panel so that you can adjust. But notice now my birds kind of have little shadows and light on them with the bevel emboss. I could go in with gradient overlay if I wanted to add a gradient to them and maybe pick something colorful. So you can get all different looks if you want to, to add. Because this becomes a shape just like any shapes. If you wanted an outline, you could put a stroke on there, have black outlines or a colored outline. Just remember, click the word and then you can adjust the color. You can also adjust the width. Looks like I had a little piece of pixel there, or the person that made it did actually, since I didn't make this one. So any of your brushes are really just objects, and because they're objects, you can do things with them like rotate them. I could Command T and I could rotate, or I could go to Edit, Transform, and I could flip horizontal if I wanted to go different directions. Once you're done with this, I want to see that you've downloaded a brush and you've painted with it, and that you've made the bat into a brush and you've painted with it. Then you can just save it, last name, first name, EX14, and you're good to go with that one.